Hello and welcome to Wandering with Justin. Today we're going to explore a historical town in the New England region. Now we're exploring the town of Glen today, and the exploration that we're going to do is going to be the Heritage Walk. Now you can find a pamphlet on the Heritage Walk at the Information Centre or at the History House Museum. Now, the History House Museum is an excellent museum with many fine exhibits that will really showcase the life of people back in the days gone by. You can see right through from the early settlers' huts up to more modern things such as the establishment of hospitals and medical care and schooling and other types of things. So it's really a great place to learn something about the area and to understand a little bit about what the Europeans who came to this area would have had to go through when they were establishing themselves as a community. Established in the 1850s, Glen has maintained a lot of its historical charm, and it's a fine town to do a walk around, and we're going to do a walk around today, and we're going to explore some of the remnants of history and try to understand a little bit about what still remains to be seen here of those early years. So our Heritage Walk begins today at the Visitor Information Centre on Church Street. So this is a Tudor-style building that you'll find is quite easy to find, and there's some big flags out the front, so don't be afraid to wander on in. There's a lot of cool stuff in there, including the pamphlet that will tell you all the details for this historical walk that you can do for yourself. Now, just across the street past the roundabout is St Patrick's Catholic Church. This church was built for about £9,000 in the early 1900s. It was originally dedicated by Patrick Joseph O'Connor, who was the bishop. The original granite church on the northern side was built in the 1870s and then was converted into a school for a small while. That's the small building you can see to the left. Now, right next to the church is St Joseph's Convent, which was built in 1916. Now, the pamphlet tells us that this church and convent both have fine examples of stained glass and lead light. Unfortunately, we weren't able to go inside. The convent is not in use at the moment, and as a matter of fact, it appears to be for sale. So you can buy it if you want to, but the outside of the building is certainly impressive to look at. Now, just across the road from the convent is the Masonic Hall. This was built in 1934, and it replaced a previous temple that was erected in 1876. The next building on the pamphlet is the police station and lockup, which were built in 1876, but these aren't easy to photograph because of the security fences around them. But just down the street from them is the Glen Post and Telegraph Office, which was built in 1896. This is an impressive Queen Anne influenced two-storey building, and she's a beauty. From different angles, you can really see all the beautiful curves and features. I like this building. Just around the corner, we come to the courthouse, and this was built in 1873. This is actually the second courthouse that stood in the area, and in the History Museum you can see photographs of what the original courthouse looked like as well. Now, just down the end of the street was formerly Airy's Royal Hotel, and this is the oldest licensed premises in town. It's closed down now. Across the road diagonally from that is White's Boot Factory, another closed business, but was built in 1941, and this was a boot factory and a tannery and wool store. In particular, during World War II, they manufactured up to 2,000 pairs of boots per day for army use. Heading back up Grey Street, back towards the main part of town, we can see the APJ Law Building. This building was actually built in 1930 and has had lawyers practicing in it ever since that era. Some other notable buildings up this street included a former bakery built for the German baker Adolf Meyer, who arrived in Australia in 1883. Other buildings of note in this area include the Children's Library, which was opened in 1954, and also a building that operated as the Peters & Co. Oyster Saloon between 1900 and 1937. Now, the Imperial Hotel was built in 1901 and replaced a previous hotel which was burnt down in 1890. Across the road is the Bank Guest House. Now, this house was originally the Bank of New South Wales and was built around 1895. Now, the Grand Central Hotel was built in 1887, and it was erected on the site of the earlier Telegraph Hotel, which happened to be the very first hotel in Glen. Now this is a lovely old building and well worth a stop inside for a look and a meal. Now this block in the street contains many fine buildings. Most of them were built between the 1870s and 1900. Most of the original parts of the buildings have been chewed out by modern shop fronts, but you can still see these wonderful facades along the top, with some of them still having signs to give you an indication of what they were for in the beginning. This beautiful facade, built in 1936, was the site of the original Government Saving Bank of New South Wales. The original building, built in 1916, is no longer here, but when the Commonwealth Bank reopened a bank in this location in 1990, they maintained the facade because it was such a wonderful feature. Now, one of the most beautiful buildings in this whole block must be the Glen Town Hall. This was built in 1887, and it was built in a hybrid French Renaissance Italianate style. Now I think this building is an absolute beauty, and Sir Henry Parkes laid the foundation stone for this in 1887. The building opened the following year. What a beauty. I love this one. Another building of interest in this block is the Tim's Pharmacy. Now this building was built in 1901, but it's actually always been a pharmacy and was first occupied by a pharmacist who had rooms previously near the courthouse. Now, we're not going to go through every single building in Glen Innes, but there's a few more that I really need to highlight, and one of those is this building here. Originally a department store, this building has been extended 4 times between 1885 and 1927. Some really beautiful, fine detailing left on the building. Unfortunately, it's a bit sad and dilapidated nowadays. Now, just at the rear of this building, you can see a plaque where the very first shop was stationed in Glen Innes. There's no shop there now, it's part of the car park behind this building, but it's still worth a look just to see where it all started. Now another fine building to look at is the Kwong Sing's Emporium. So this is now called the Premier Store. This was built in 1886 and expanded over the following 30 years. So originally this was started by a gentleman called Mr. Wong Chi. So Kwong Sing & Co. was Glen Innes' oldest surviving retail business. It's no longer a department store, but it's still a fine clothing store here with a range of goods available, and it's a beauty to have a look at. There's also a lot of great, interesting, fascinating things to look at in the History House Museum relating to this business. Now, last but not least is the fire station. This building was built in 1916. The local fire brigade was first formed in 1888, and the original fire engine was a horse-drawn cart with about 500 feet of canvas hose on an old reel. The reel was actually made by a local coach builder, J.F. Chaffee & Sons, and can still be seen in the museum today. The first motorised fire engine was issued in 1924, and that was present at this building, putting out fires in Glen Innes. Now that's the tour for today. It doesn't include all of the buildings. There are over 60 buildings that you can see, plus many more historical buildings around the town. So I encourage you to go check it out for yourself, have a look, and just revel in some of this beautiful old architecture and the history that goes with it. And while you're in town, don't forget to spend some money in a local business, buy something at a cafe or maybe a gift shop. It really does help these small towns to keep afloat and keep preserving these businesses for us to be able to go and look at them. Anyway, thanks very much for watching. I really appreciate your time. See you later. Bye-bye.